Hi everyone, Wendy here, and I am wanting to share with you this painting I did, and this painting I actually did in 2019, and it's a funny thing because it's like I'm constantly painting like in the future in a way where I'm painting things I don't understand until many months later or years later in some instances. So now I was called to share with you this painting, and I have it here, but you will see it pop up on your screen. And it's called Earth Speak. I called it Earth Speak, but titles are so interesting, right? There's so many names you can name it, but with this painting, they really wanted me to share the energy with you. Like if you can feel this painting. One, the gorilla is so powerful, right? And however the gorilla needs to be for you, that's exactly what's like important, meaning does it feel feminine? Does it feel masculine? I feel, generally speaking, it feels very strong and very calm. But this is the painting they wanted me to share with you, particularly to kind of connect with these earth energies right now. We're all getting very cerebral. We're getting in our heads, they're telling me right now. We're getting really in our heads, and in this way, in our own way. They were explaining to me earlier today, as I was thinking about creating this video, they were showing me how fear works. And in regards to fear, just how it can only lie. In this way, fear really is an illusion. Now, we believe it. In some cases, we have solidified our fear so strongly that it manifests in a physical form. But truly, just like any dis-ease in our bodies or anything, it starts off as a thought or a feeling, and then we can manifest it because we have free will. We can create whatever it is that we want. So they wanted me to remind us all that fear can only lie. And it had its place in our humanness, especially when we first began as like humanoids, right? We needed to understand instinctually what to be afraid of and what not to be afraid of. And it totally had its place. But upon evolution, upon our expansion and our consciousness expanding, there will become a point when this no longer serves us. And that's part of what kind of growing into this fifth dimensional being is about. It's integrating the ego, the hardwired parts of ourselves with fear, and integrating those into our higher selves or a higher consciousness. And that the difference between those two behaviors is reacting or responding. And so in this way, it's truly about learning to respond differently. That's what they want us to really work on, really, right? And it's not always easy. First, it takes noticing where we're reacting. So any fear that might come up wherever you feel like you're reacting, those are the parts of yourself where a fear exists within your mind. Otherwise, it wouldn't even be an issue. Meaning, like, if somebody really makes you angry, even at the grocery store or even a friend or a lover or a spouse, if you think unkindly towards them or you're angry towards them, you might not even understand why, but you definitely cannot feel those emotions. Just like the Four Agreements, just like so many spiritual teachers have talked about, it has to exist within you. And if it exists within you, that means you have a thought or belief system that corresponds with that behavior. Because let me tell you, if you didn't, you would see them with compassion. Or it wouldn't even bother you. You would just be like, okay, whatever. It wouldn't react. You wouldn't react. And so those types of moments where you're reacting, they definitely are there to help you integrate or love more parts of yourself. So kind of getting off track. But they really wanted me to talk about the fear because we're in our heads a lot, especially with all the stuff that's going on within our climate, right? And political climate is really what I was talking about, like the environment in which we are existing right now, and all of the things that are going on. And they want to truly express their love and gratitude towards us. Like, we're really all doing an amazing job. Like, it's almost like we don't really understand, like, what it really means to forget who you are and to have this human experience. And that's huge. They're saying, you know how much love that takes to forget who you are, to remember who you are. And they're just so in awe of all of us. Every time we choose love over fear, or choose love, even when we don't, because this is all an illusion anyways, right? This is all a process. So getting back to the painting, kind of reconnecting to this earth energy. The earth is us in a way, in like a unified theory, right? It's like we are the earth. We are all living things, right? We are a combined consciousness. We are everybody and everything. That's a little trippy, and I know, and it might be a little bit too much for some people, but I truly believe that. And they share this with me to just have a slightly different perspective. Like, if we're like a cell within this bigger system of Earth, let's say the Earth is the heart organ or something, right? It's like an organ, or another type of organ within another being, the universe, right? And within this heart, we're a cell, right? And there's many billions and billions and trillions of cells. And within these cells, we're exchanging energy. We need each other to survive, and we all understand that intellectually. Like, of course, yeah, okay, I breathe in the trees and they breathe in us. But truly feel that, what that really means. We're one system. There is no separation. Meaning, as I'm breathing in, the trees are breathing out. And as I'm breathing out, the trees are breathing in. So in this way, it's the cyclical, beautiful unison that it takes place. And I know a lot of spiritual practices and most religions speak on the spirituality of breath and what that means. And the earth is coming through and just saying they're in the other side of that. Kind of like in a painting where you'd have negative space and positive space. You have to have both for one to exist. Just like you need fear and love. Well, love is kind of encompassing of all these things, but like even within magnetics, right? Negative and positive charge. Like, you need both parts for it to exist, period. And that's part of the physics of this planet. Just like this breathing part. Like, of course, it's outside of us and inside of us. It's this divine design. So the earth is here to help. The more we separate from the earth, the more in balance or out of balance we become. And this fifth dimensional being, part of this expression is understanding this earth medicine, or the function of this earth within our human bodies. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a physical body, right? Think about that. We have a physical body, so that's telling us right there how important our physical connection and experiencing the great I Am is. So, but there's a lot more in this painting. I want to kind of talk about what else is in this painting, because it's all relative to right now. Nature has a natural way of balancing everything out. Everything. Just like in your life, that's all you're doing. You're balancing everything out. If something is really loud, like maybe you're really sick, it's your body trying to balance everything out. It's built to function this way. So it's just showing us parts that need to be loved or need to be recognized. Otherwise, it would be imbalanced and we wouldn't feel or see it at all. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's really cool. I love this stuff. So, it's reminding us, the gorilla is partly reminding us to connect with that natural rhythm, our own natural rhythm. And for some of us, we might not even know what that is because you're so in your head. And what I mean by so in your head is, meaning you're following all the rules. And I know we all have jobs and we have responsibilities, and I kind of question those things, right? I question those systems. If they're not built around our natural rhythm, then they truly can't be sustainable. So, the gorilla, bringing us back to our natural rhythm. It's so important right now in connecting with that silence. Now, truly, even in the forest, there's lots of noises and things, but that inner silence and that beingness, and that's what we mean by silence, is being centered, really noticing how you're feeling. And the gorilla helps with this and pulling in the energy of Mother Earth, feeling the trees. This is where we're going to experience the divine in a very physical form. It's not so cerebral. It's right here all around us. So this natural rhythm of things, they talk to me about how the earth too is naturally finding a balance. We don't understand the wisdom behind this. And in some ways, I feel the way that we react to some of the things that are happening on the earth, like we go straight to fear. Like the earth's ending, or the earth's dying, or it's the end of times, or it's a ice age, or it's global warming. We're only seeing such a small part of the evolution of the earth that we don't truly understand. And I know some scientists have talked to us about how this global warming is a sign of going into an ice age, and that naturally happens within the Earth's own lifespan. And it's done this several times. If you wanted to look up the science, it's there. I'll mention in my comments, or there's a book about it, but not to say that there are imbalances happening in the world that we need to take responsibility for, such as pollution, and not understanding that the earth is a mirror of how we're treating ourselves. And in that's what they're talking about, is this balance and the dignity of the gorilla, and we'll talk about that now. What is gorilla? What is a gorilla? When it's truly a kindred spirit for humanoids, right? Or human beings, humanoids. But right? Truly, they're very much like us. There is a wisdom within the gorilla. Do you know that they understand who's ill within their tribe, and they help protect them? They help take care of them. They're very aware when somebody else within their tribe needs more attention, and they allow for it. So not only listening within what they need themselves individually, but also the responsibility and the dignity of taking care of each other. And I feel like this message truly comes at such an important time. Taking care of each other, understanding that we're in this all together. So if somebody's having a hard day, not being inconvenienced by it, but giving them that time and space. But here's the tricky thing. If you can't give them the time and space because you need the time and space, that's okay too. And it's going to be a lot of that while we go through this process. Like for years, it might be a lot of that, taking care of yourself first so then you can take care of others, because we're so out of balance. We've forgotten the way of knowing how to take care of ourselves, but we're figuring it out. The gorilla has the wisdom within it to lead with compassion. not having to be fierce, though it can be fierce when it needs to be, right? But it doesn't lead that way, not naturally. It's actually very peaceful, graceful, connected, nurturing, compassionate, and it leads this way. And that's a lot of what gorilla stands for. The gentleness that you feel in the painting, but also this wisdom. And that's what we're moving into. But within this leadership is about taking responsibility within everything that I've talked about, whether it's taking responsibility for how you're feeling in the moment and being present with yourself, or taking responsibility in helping take care of your tribe. And I mean your neighbors. And I mean even other countries. If that comes into your circle, that's part of what you need to taken care of. That's part of God's way and the earth's way of naturally balancing out what needs to take place. Everything that happens in your day and in your life is trying to create balance for you, more love. So if situations arise that are hard, right, staying within the center of the storm and not being pulled and being whipped around, it's learning how to take care of yourself in those moments, right? I'm kind of getting off track, but taking responsibility is so important. That we create our realities. And that if somebody is triggering us, it's always, not usually, it's always because it's something within us. Because as we evolve as human beings, and I know this through my own growth, the less and less people can actually affect me. So I'm speaking from wisdom, and if somebody's triggering me, I welcome it because it's showing me exactly what it is I need to get to that, to love myself more, to keep in the flow. So, the gorilla, taking responsibility that we create our own lives, that we lead with compassion, and we honor our own rhythms, and that the earth is always here to help us, and so is God. Above us, below us, in us, everywhere. We can't avoid it, it's everywhere. But now specifically within this painting, there's actually information, and I want to kind of go over that right now. I know that was a long kind of jaunt to get to the meat of some of these things, and for those of you that are still watching, thanks for hanging in there. But there are a lot of there's some information here in regards to abundance within this system that I'm talking about. There is abundance. This is the flow. Because there is there's enough to go around. There's enough love. There's enough money. There's enough food. We all know this intellectually. We all know that there's enough food to go around for everybody. No one needs to be starving on this planet. That's just one example. There's enough to go around, period. You can have everything that you want. You can have everything that you want. They tell me that the biggest hurdle for most human beings is feeling worthy. And unfortunately or fortunately, you have to tackle. I'm a little bit more aggressive than some. Tackle them. You need to look at those belief systems. You got to look at them because otherwise they're controlling you, meaning they're telling the story. So if you're noticing something occurring in your life that you don't want, that means there's a belief system within your being that's in charge. And it's only in charge because you haven't looked at it. That's free will. There is abundance to go around. See here in the lower right corner, it reminds me of the fish. And in the Bible, in many stories, many religious, not just the Christian religion, but in other religions as well, they talk about this abundance, how you can turn one fish into millions to feed everybody. symbolism, right? There really is enough to go around. And by staying in this rhythm. In the center of the painting, right underneath the chin and to the right, right underneath the chin is talking about this ice age. And it's interesting because it's coming up right now intuitively as they're talking to me. Is like, yes, it's the Earth's way of repairing itself and trusting whatever is happening, whether it's fires, whether it's earthquakes. It is the natural process of things for the Earth to repair. And to think that we know and will go against it is so silly to me. There's so much more going on, and we are incapable with our technology today to truly understand it. So we have to trust. And I know that's scary. But they're telling me that it's all divinely guided, every piece of it. To the left, there's that fiery kind of cityscape. And it is talking about the imbalance within like the cityscapes, right? Which means not that it's anything to be afraid of, but just that there's imbalances there, a disconnection from the earth. Because this painting's all about the earth, the natural balance of things. And just integrating that more, integrating more of a more holistic approach, whether it's eating or living or just remembering. Even just, you could love modern day, right? You could love minimalism and, live in Upper East Side in New York. Like, if that's what you have and that brings you joy and that's what you want to do, then that's great. There's kindness and compassion, and there's all those other pieces there. You got this. I'm not judging anybody's choices by any means. But they're talking about just the imbalance and bringing back the earth. And not to forget who you are and where we come from. Right? How many times do we tell our kids to go outside and play? Why? Because it creates a natural balance, especially within these electronics. We know this. Science has even proven it. What the earth does, how some cultures in Japan talk about forest bathing. Forest bathing is a new thing, right? Or they have to have landscape paintings or windows within hospitals to help people heal faster. That's proven. Look that up. Because our bodies are of the earth. We need it. So this is just kind of talking about that and how there's a lot of uproar within the cities because that's where we're going to kind of be processing a lot of this stuff. Some of the belief systems within our culture that need to be dealt with, whether it's unworthiness, the hierarchy of systems, racism, sexism. All of these things are coming kind of ahead in these cities, and that's kind of why there's fire all over it, because it's just purging and just trust. And if you're part of that calling where you have to speak up, and take rise and speak up and take rise in a kind and compassionate way. Part of this process of being connected, and I began with it in this message, is that we are all one. There really is, as we grow through this, and we need to speak of the injustice, right? We need to speak of the wounds. We need to speak about who has hurt us because it needs to come out of our body. That is a natural healing process. It needs to be spoken of. But then there is that process of taking responsibility. And that belief system must exist within me. Because who cares? If I love myself, I don't care if somebody else doesn't approve, right? Or they reject me, because it doesn't matter. The rejection doesn't exist within me because I love myself and I know who I am. And that took a long time to get to that place. It did, and that's okay. So the fire in the city, the purification, the allowing for the purge, seeing it through a different lens. People need to speak, yes. There's no blame, though. Nobody holds you back for your sex or your whatever. And then, believe me, the culture has, I'm not denying those experiences. Believe me, I've had them. Even racism, sexism, all of those things. We all share them. That's the crazy thing. We all share them. It's in all of us. And that's where we're headed. In the wisdom of understanding that. There's no separatism like, oh man, I feel so bad that happened to him or that happened to her. That's happening to us. So, just kind of growing into that. It's probably boring. I don't know. I hope it's not. They told me to just speak on these things, so that's what I'm doing. The Ice Age. Then there's that little box, the fish thing down there is all about the abundance energy, and I hope you feel that. It's in the energy is there. Above the fish-ish, I mean, they don't look like fish, right? But they're fish, kind of the abundance of the analogy of the fish, right? And like Jesus turning so many fish, right, to be able to feed all. Above that is a picture frame or a window into like 4 different candles burning. And it is the number 4, and it's surrounded by a frame with four squares, 4 sides, 4 squares in the corners. And we are in 2020, which is the 4s. And it just talks and holds the energy of what's actually happening. That's exactly what's happening. And they're telling me right now in this moment, this is exactly why they wanted me to share it now. It's showing us what's happening. But look at the energy of the painting. What is the dominant energy? The gorilla and the earth. And then little details are telling us, yep, purging is happening, but it's okay. Integration is happening. I like integration more. Integration just means we're not cutting anything off. Things are dying, things are shifting. But death is nothing but a change into another form. And that's what's happening. We're changing into another form. Above that is the ear, and that is energy of an ear, of just truly listening. And I would love it if you guys could all participate in that. Like, try to listen more, not to yourself, please, but to that silence. What are you saying to yourself? What is the earth saying? What are your guides saying? If you can hear them. What is God saying? If you can hear her or him, or however you identify its gender, though I don't think it has a gender, personally. That's just my opinion. It is all, so how could all have a gender anyways? And the last part of the painting I want to talk about is that fern thing. Fern is a growth for sure, is growth. It represents growth in general. But they really wanted to explain something to me, and they're trying to explain something to me. And in this, I painted it almost opposite. So one's kind of outlined with white, one's kind of outlined in black. So the duality of that. The duality of this experience. How you need both to exist, to even have form. Like, it's so important that we understand this. And you can look at those ferns, and you can logically say, one is not better than the other. Right? They both just exist. Now you could apply meaning. You can say, hey, I like the darker outlined one more. But it doesn't make it true. It's not truth, right? That's just your preference. That's what you like better. One truly isn't better than the other. They both exist. And I think in that same way, they want us to shift into that perspective with all things. Let's say you can't pay a bill. right? You don't have enough money to pay your house. That's scary. Is that bad or good? It doesn't matter, right? It's not either bad or good. It just exists. And how we choose to respond to that is what's telling. And that's where everything that's happening in your life is there to help you love yourself further, to show yourself what your needs are. Now, we all need to feel safe. And I'm not taking that away. I'm talking about wisdom here. I'm talking about expanding. I'm talking about really understanding God and love in a real way. Everything happens for a reason. So you can't pay your house. No. What happens? What's going on inside? Right? Those are the important things. What goes on inside? Do you feel unsafe? Do you get triggered into like a fight, flight, or freeze response where you don't even know how to handle that? Or you just start getting angry? And this is just an example, right? Somebody that knows that they're loved knows that it'll all work out in the end, right? Something will come up, and they probably are better able to respond to that. Responding meaning figuring out different ways that they can go about it. But the end result isn't that you pay your bill, because maybe you're supposed to move. Maybe you're supposed to move out of that house, right? Maybe you're supposed to, like life is moving you. Right, so then maybe you have to lose the house or whatever, and you get into a smaller house, and that's where you meet somebody to get you to the next level with your job. Like, we don't know, and that's why it's so important to just maintain a perspective of this neutrality, if you can. And if you can't, that's okay too. Because if you can't, then there's things for you to love and integrate, right? And that's all I'm trying to explain, that everything's happening for a reason. And they just want to kind of share the perspective of, we apply the meaning. We're applying the meaning. And some of the meaning may be off. The meaning is nothing but a program. We've programmed. And we think it's right. But it isn't. I mean, that's silly. Nothing is right. Nothing is wrong. It just is. And our brains apply the meaning. So they wanted to kind of bring that perspective into the painting, because that's where you can find peace. Anybody that's been broke knows I've had these experiences. I'll just speak for myself. I've been so broke, and those have been some of the happiest times, because I am abundant. And really being broke makes you realize what abundance truly is. It's joy. It's learning to live in the moment and gleaning from that happiness and peace. Right? So we create our reality. And so if we have to be reminded of that to create balance for ourselves, to get us back to basics, then so be it. And God and Earth is going to take us back to ground zero as many times as we need. There's no judgment. So, I really hope you enjoyed this painting and the explanation. If you've lasted the whole time, bless you. I truly appreciate you. Please like and share and follow and all that good stuff. I do like talking about these things, so I'd love to hear what you think. Even if you don't agree with me, I'd love to hear it. I love the conversation. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and if you want a print of the painting, just message me, or it's on our website. You can always purchase them there. Namaste, everybody. I'll talk to you soon.